what I really wanted to show you was safety in general trucking. So what happened last year was
That is Charlie Charalambous, my guest for this week. Charlie's from the IHSA, the best kept secret in trucking, and Charlie and I discuss all the benefits and deep dive into the IHSA. Join us. Welcome to the Dog on It Trucking Podcast, where I get to talk to some of the industry greats. You can show your appreciation by clicking a like, subscribe, and please leave a comment. I want to know what your thoughts are. But with that, let's get on with the show. Hey, Charlie, welcome to the Dog on It Trucking Podcast. How in the heck are you, my friend?
good. Chris, how you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Charlie, I wanted you on the show because I was hoping you could shed some light on what I think is the best kept secret in the trucking industry. Can you tell us what IHSA is all about?
Absolutely. So the best kept secret, as you call it, the IHSA stands for the Infrastructure Health and Safety Association. So the IHSA, probably it's easier for us to refer to it that way from this point on, the association is Ontario's trusted health and safety resource. Our goal is to improve the lives of Ontario workers. It's the vision of the IHSA for safe and healthy workplaces free from incidences, illnesses, and fatalities across Ontario.
Okay, so
I said a mouthful, I know.
and you did, and it was great. You recently joined the IHSA. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your career path, just so that people understand what is available and what's out there in the transportation industry a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So my history or my career path in transportation started over 15 years ago. I was a corporate trainer. So being a corporate trainer, I was looking for an opportunity and I was fortunate to get a job at Markel Insurance, which is now Northbridge Insurance.
Yep.
Started off downtown Toronto in corporate training before moving into the risk services department, which was safety and training at the time. And I got to get a little bit more exposure directly with our clientele at the time, which was only trucking. Markel was just trucking before we became Northbridge. So I continued there. I was there for 12 years, working in safety and training, risk services, with some great people, designed some training programs, got to work with organizations, trucking companies across Canada. After 12 years, I decided to try something a little different and took a sales role with another company where I was helping companies manage obtaining their abstracts, CVORs, criminal record searches, things like that. But then a few months ago, on March 2nd of this year, I started with the IHSA. I've had a pretty long history with the IHSA through something called the Fleet Safety Council, gotten to know them really well, and I've been a big fan for a long time. And the opportunity came up and I knew that this was the place for me to go. So on March 2nd of this year, I officially became coordinator for research, stakeholder, and public relations at the IHSA.
And how long was it before we went into the COVID lockdown after you started your new job?
Probably about a week. I started on March 2nd, and my second week, we were asked to work from home, and I've been working only from home ever since under lockdown. So trial by fire, I went right into it, right into a health and safety association and into a global pandemic.
Well, and what a way to start a new job.
Absolutely.
So, what's the purpose of, let's talk about IHSA a little bit. What's the purpose of IHSA? What's the goal?
Well, as I mentioned before, IHSA's goal is to provide safe and healthy resources for different sectors across Ontario for employees to make sure that everybody is safe, healthy, and reduce incidents and fatalities. It's done by providing services, resources, training to help control and eliminate hazards amongst the different groups. There's a focus on the construction sector, electrical, utilities, and of course, transportation, where I fall.
Well, and that's how I know IHSA. Obviously, I'm in the transportation field, and they have a heck of a lot of resources available. Can you, For the trucking industry, and maybe all industries as a whole, but specifically for trucking, can you give us some examples of some of the things that are available? Well, sorry, before we get into that, who's a member of IHSA?
Okay, well, that's a fair question. So IHSA does have members and non-members, and essentially companies who are registered and pay WSIB premiums into one of the IHSA designated sectors. So as I mentioned, transportation, construction, electrical utility, and aggregates are automatically members of IHSA because what happens is a portion of their WSIB premiums are redirected into IHSA to focus on prevention. So it enables us to create these great resources to get back to the industry and support health and safety.
And so if you're paying WSIB and you're in those sectors, you're automatically a member. There's no additional fee?
There's no additional fees. Now there are fee courses that you can take, but there's different rate structures depending on if you're a member or not. And it really does depend on your rate group under WSIB. So for transportation, for example, there are several rate groups where you could fall. That includes general trucking, courier, miscellaneous transportation, school buses falls under that, lumber, builder supplies, and I believe waste and materials recycling is the other sector.
Hey, I'm going to throw a question at you, and I remind the audience you've only been with IHSA weeks. Well, I'm just curious. Somebody I know just recently took a new job for I don't even know what you call them, but they're delivering Amazon parcels, right? So, and it's the part of the last mile group of people. And, you know, there's a group of these companies, and I expect a group of expanding companies in that marketplace. If they're paying WSIB, would people like that be also part of IHSA?
So under Amazon, I would imagine that they do fall under that courier rate group. So the employer themselves would fall under WSIB, which makes them an IHSA member.
Okay, and I remind our audience that, you know, Charlie's only been here for a few weeks. I asked him, but it's just because somebody I know has taken a job in that sector, and with COVID and everything else, I just imagine it's an area of huge growth right now and for the foreseeable future. So I'm just curious, that's all. Personal question.
No, it makes perfect sense. And what I will share with you is a stat that I do know, and that is 35% of IHSA's membership right now is transportation, wow, which sounds really good. And then I kind of try to drill down on that a little bit more. And that actually equates to over 271,000 full-time employees in the province of Ontario. So it kind of puts it in perspective right there.
Oops, sorry, hit the wrong button there. That's a heck of a lot of people, and that's only 35%. I wonder how many, and this isn't a question because I wouldn't expect you to know it. I wonder how many people are employed in transportation in Ontario. You know,
that's a really good question.
Well, it's got to be a huge amount of people, because we know about Driver Inc. We won't get on that subject. And we know about owner-operators, which are legit. There's Driver Inc., there's owner-operators. Those are people who own trucks that are totally self-employed because my company may only have one truck, for instance, and I'm the owner and I drive it. There's a lot of reason that there are people who don't pay WSIB, huge. Just curious. Anyways, can you give us some examples of some of the services or some of the courses or stuff? Well, there, we're in COVID. What do you have to offer for people who want to pick up some knowledge in the trucking industry about the resources that IHSA has for COVID-19 and truck driving?
Sure. We could start with COVID-19, which is, you know, since I started and really what I've been working on in my role. I'm going to be working directly with the industry, creating new resources, but obviously with everything that's going on, there's been a heavy focus on COVID. Actually, if I could share my screen, I can show you what we've been doing. I have the website up, so just start sharing.
I think so. Perfect.
And what I'll do is, actually, I'll start at the very beginning. So if we go to ihsa.ca, as you can see, we've got a temporary landing page now. People can go directly back to IHSA's main homepage.
Right.
But for now, because of the temporary closures and all the emphasis on COVID-19, we have added this section for COVID-19 resources, where when people go, and I'll remind everybody watching that this is open to everybody right now, so you can go in, remember, not have a look at this. But we've got an update on our facility and, what's open, what's closed, which they're all closed right now. General COVID-19 links and resources, but right here is the big one, which is sector-specific COVID-19 links and resources.
And
so as you can, sorry, go ahead.
If I can just interrupt for a second, for those of our people who are listening and not watching, I will make sure I put the links to IHSA down below so that you can check it out after you've listened to the podcast.
Awesome.
You're on YouTube, but not everybody's on YouTube today, so,
No, fair enough. So I'll show you these two right here. So under transportation links and resources, you go to the page. We've broken it up into 3 buckets. So there's announcements, and what we've done there is just shared industry announcements. For example, the essential workers exempt from mandatory self-isolation. So that was updated on May 27th. We started to add those added dates to make sure that everybody knows when it was put up and that it's relevant and things to be looking for.
Yeah.
An update.
Sorry, things are changing so quick. That date's helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And we've all seen it. Things are changing sometimes, the same day, if not the next day, right? There's new announcements coming out all the time. A resource for drivers to wear masks at border crossing. That was a really big deal when that happened. And we're also sharing things like updates from the CTA, the Canadian Trucking Alliance, or Trucking HR Canada put out a really good document and some resources there. So we wanted to share those and make them available to the industry. And then a lot of what I've been working on with the team is putting up and creating specific guidance and best practice documents.
Right.
So as you can see here, we've got a long selection or long list of different resources that we've created, all done using a risk management methodology following a RACE format. So when I say RACE, it's an acronym for recognize the hazard. So R for recognize, A for assess the hazard, C for controls. What controls are you going to put into place to eliminate or minimize the hazard, and E for evaluate. So it's like any other good process, you want to reevaluate everything, make sure it's working, and keep it up to date and make sure that it's giving everything that people need.
Yeah.
Lots of examples up here, guidance on daily decontamination. So an example of that is, when a driver goes home, do they have a place where they can get changed and keep those work clothes separate from everything else? So they're not potentially bringing in anything to the home that could contaminate their home area. Scrolling down here, guidance on fueling for vehicles for drivers during COVID-19. So that was a really big one. I'm actually, I'll click on that one just to kind of show you the format and what it looks like. So they generally have an overview. We recognize the hazard, so that's our R, and and assess the risks. So we do know, and the COVID ones all follow a very similar format.
Right.
We know how coronavirus is spread. Coughing, sneezing, personal contact with an infected person, and so forth. But what are the potential hazards when fueling a vehicle? And we list them here. So they have to get out of the vehicle. They've got to touch that pump handle and nozzle to be bad. When they go in to pay, the entry door and countertop of the building could be contaminated, right? Washrooms in the facility when they go up to the lottery ticket kiosk. Close contact with other individuals at the fueling station. So these are risks that we know and have identified. And then we provide some controls. So a reminder to maintain physical distancing, specific procedures while at the fuel stop. So make sure that they're wearing appropriate PPE from the moment they leave the cab. So make sure they have gloves on them, extra hand sanitizer. If they're using a shared vehicle, wipe down that gas cap before you use it. Wipe down the pump handle or the touch screen when you're selecting your fuel. So things like that.
Yeah. Well, and if you're in a shared cab, my goodness, they've got to, assuming that it's not a team truck, but a shared truck, they have to wipe down the whole truck before a great deal of the interior before they should start driving.
Totally, which would bring you to guidance on cleaning and sanitizing inside your vehicle during COVID-19. We recognize that's something that's going to happen. definitely shared vehicles. And I'm glad you brought that one up. I'm going to jump back for a moment because these just came up the other day. And IHSA has posted some self-help videos. One of them is sanitizing and cleaning commercial motor vehicles. So I won't bring this up. The link is obviously there, but for a 7-minute long video where we actually detail how to clean the inside of a cab. So great instructional videos. The other one that's really relevant here, I guess for everybody, is donning and doffing of disposable latex gloves, right? So we all know that, gloves are appropriate PPE, or latex gloves can be, but there is a proper way to remove and dispose of them.
And I'll put links. Are they on YouTube, those videos?
Yes. So when you click on Learn More here from the IHSA website, it does direct you to a page specific to those videos on YouTube. And we are constantly creating more and adding more resources to these pages.
Yeah. But those 2 videos specifically are targeting, I hope, my audience, or at least the people like management who may say to truck drivers, hey, go watch this. So I'll put those links directly to those YouTube videos in the show notes below so people can click on them directly and maybe share them.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. They're short, they're to the point. I think like the cleaning of the commercial motor vehicles ones is 7 minutes long, or just under 7 minutes. But in this day and age, everybody's got some sort of a smartphone. You can easily, as a safety manager and owner of a company, even just email that link out to your drivers and ask them to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that. But thank you for putting that up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's all about getting, useful information out to the public. As I say, it's the best kept secret. I don't think it should be a secret. We pay for this,
Absolutely. So those are the COVID-19 resources that we've put together. I guess I can give you back control of the screen now.
Well, I was going to say,
there we go.
Before you leave that, what do you have? Okay, so that was good for truck drivers and stuff. And I know there's a lot more resources on the site targeting truck drivers. But what about dispatchers or management stuff? Do you have anything like that on IHSA's website?
Absolutely. So I'll stick where I am right here. There's a lot of different ways that you can navigate to it. Actually, I did load them up. So I do have, in preparation, I put up right here. So this is a full list, and I'll scroll back up to the top in a moment, but this is a full list of IHSA's training programs.
Right.
A lot of these training programs can be done at one of our facilities, or it can be done at your facility, wherever a customer likes.
So
there are. Sorry.
Before you go on, so you said at IHSA or on site. So these are human-led activities?
The majority of these ones are. We do have some e-learning courses on there, and some specific transportation e-learning ones on there as well.
Okay, so let's say e-learning. Go figure.
There you go. There's your hint right there. Well, when you bring up e-learning, like the first one that comes to my mind right now is distracted driving.
Yes.
Obviously something that's near and dear to all of our hearts, especially those that work in safety and transportation. But yeah, wide variety of courses. You ask supervisors or dispatchers. First one that I would think, there's basics of supervising, right? So great course designed for supervisors. And you and I know, your audience knows that, a dispatcher is in many ways a supervisor for that time, right? So giving them those tools that add, that one-on-one, that course, to give them the tools and the experience they need to manage that relationship, manage the day-to-day with the driver is really important. So that's one, but there are a lot of other transportations. You can see they're not all transportation specific, because this is for all sectors, but nothing wrong with a dispatcher, supervisor taking a course on the Highway Traffic Act, better understanding that. We've got hours of service. Another very big one for us, and I'm not scrolling too fast here, but is here, Joint Health and Safety Certification Part 2 for transportation. Something important for them to know, right?
Are you suggesting that companies with 20 or more employees should have a health and safety committee?
Something like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, specifically, I always forget whether if the number is 20 or more, or is it above 20? Do you remember offhand?
I believe you're right around that number. I'm going to say 20.
Yeah.
Give or take one or two. Yeah, I'm going to say 20.
Yeah, I think it's 20 or more is the wording, but I could be easily mistaken on that. But, there's something many companies I go into, because they are 25 trucks and thereabouts, so they're way more than 20 employees. I know they don't have a joint health and safety committee. And if they do, it's on paper only, often, because it's a requirement, and it's kind of swept under the table, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. It's such a big piece there, and as you said, it is a requirement too, right? I think getting people out to that kind of a training makes them more aware of it, and takes it away from that just on paper concept that you mentioned, right?
Yeah,
takes them to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the course list. The other thing I'll show you here while we're here, if you go to products, we actually have on this page free product downloads. So not everything at IHSA is, you have to pay for. So there are safety talks listed here, bulletins, again, for all of our sectors. But, I was scrolling through earlier, preparing for when we were going to talk, a little information on who IHSA is, fall prevention safety toolkit. There's definitely a need for that across all industries. Keeping your promise poster, quit smoking.
Yeah.
As we take a deep breath. Still scrolling. These are all free available downloads. And you can see the page is pretty long.
Health and safety advisor.
Mobile devices. A dangerous distraction on construction sites. We know just as well the impacts that has in the vehicle. How about your guide to safe and efficient winter driving?
And that's a free download that you can make it a poster, have it printed and post it in your facility, send it out via email.
Well, this one's actually a booklet. So you could actually download it and use that as part of your safety talk. So your drivers meeting, winter's coming, get everybody prepared, get everybody ready. Just those little reminders, right? And as you can see just from the cover there, I'm not sure how big that's coming out on your end, but you can see there's a truck there, school bus, regular passenger vehicles. So it really does cover all of them as a nice resource for safe driving during the winter months.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at it because I need more 5-minute safety videos. So you're giving me ideas here on top of great 5-minute safety videos for
there you go.
The Dog Speaks.
And then there was another thing that I wanted to show you. There's an IHSA Health and Safety magazine that goes out. But our latest edition was transportation specific. This was a special edition just for focus on transportation. A lot of work's been done the last little while on transportation. So here you've got a safety talk on sharing the road with trucks. But what I really wanted to show you was safety in general trucking. So what happened last year was there was a risk assessment done in partnership with the Ministry of Labor, Training, Skills and Development. IHSA workers, supervisors, they brought in companies from across Ontario, and they were able to come out with the top 10 health and safety risks for general trucking. So right there, and not going to be a big surprise for you what number one is.
Distracted driving, number one.
Yeah, you and I have had this conversation, right, about distracted driving.
Yeah.
I know we both feel the same way about it. It's not a big surprise, but driver fatigue, careless drivers on the road, driving conditions, lack of truck awareness, slips, trips, and falls, stress, inadequate or insufficient training, skills, or qualifications. Another thing that's been really in the spotlight in the last couple of years.
Well, sorry, I was just going to say
please.
Is stress. I wonder if they did the survey now during COVID. I gotta believe, or I certainly believe, and Linda Corkum from the Nova Scotia Trucking Safety Association. Also, we were talking about that, and that's another episode if you want to talk about truck driver mental health. But I gotta believe that right now truck drivers are under increased stress because of COVID and having to keep self-distance and having to keep cleaning and washing hands, and they've got a high exposure out there.
They do, and it's great to see the recognition that's going out for truck drivers right now. But you're absolutely right. The reality is, we were all told to go into lockdown, and those that were able and have that ability to work safely from home, it was great. Try to limit our exposure outside. We might be grocery shopping once every week, 2 weeks. The truck drivers were out there. They were on the front line, and we recognize that as well. And actually, one of the COVID-19 resources that on that page that we looked at earlier was driver mental health, recognizing the amount of pressure they're under, the stress being away from their family during a very stressful time for everybody.
Yeah, it is a stressful time. So
absolutely. This magazine is available for free download, or transportation companies can actually go online and order physical copies to share with their drivers. And we just touched on some of the resources. We won't go through the entire magazine, but it's a great magazine, and I'd really kind of encourage. Again, we'll add to the show links. It's right on the website, but it was really well done. And those top 10 things you were looking at, that we looked at, are things obviously that we're going to be looking at as well as an association soon.
I'm sorry, I'm just making a note here. I got to talk. Link to magazine in the show notes.
And there you go.
Is that a picture of our mutual friend there, Mr. Guy?
That's Guy Broderick, from Apps Transport. He volunteered. He was part of that risk assessment. So he was one of the, Apps was one of the companies that came out, and they also helped out by getting somebody out there to photograph Guy and the vehicles and some of the interactions in and around a vehicle for the magazine. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. Let me ask you a question. One of my favorite things, and I know you were involved with it this morning, the Hamilton chapter of, what's the relationship between IHSA and Fleet Safety Council?
So I'll stop sharing the screen there. Yeah, actually, the Fleet Safety Council, you're right. That's something that's near and dear to my heart, has been for a while. We talked about IHSA being the best kept secret, which I really want to change. I want to get that out there. But the Fleet Safety Council, in my opinion, is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck as a safety professional. Depending on the chapter, very reasonable rates, about $50 a year to be a member, where you get 10 meetings a year. They don't meet in July and August, across Ontario, with guest speakers. The IHSA administers the Fleet Safety Council. So we provide administrative support at the meetings for the conference. There's an annual conference as well. But there's a really strong connection and relationship there. And that was actually my introduction to the IHSA many years ago when I first joined the Toronto chapter of Fleet Safety Council.
Yeah. Now, just before you move on, because I do want to talk quickly about the conference.
Yeah.
Before we do that, where are the chapters? Obviously, this is Ontario-based only.
Correct.
Hopefully, we have listeners from across North America, but so you got to be here in Ontario. Can you name off some of the locations of the chapter?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mentioned the Toronto chapter, so that one obviously is right in the GTA. We meet in Mississauga once a month, or when we can have in-person meetings again. We've been meeting virtually for the last little while. But some of the other chapters, there's an Ottawa chapter. There's a chapter all the way at Windsor. There's a chapter in Sudbury. So regardless of where you are, we're trying to get all the outside areas there. London has a chapter. Hamilton, Niagara, you mentioned. So the Hamilton, Niagara chapter. It's one in Cambridge, Central chapter, Cambridge, Kitchener area.
And there's the North.
The North is Sudbury. So there's 8 chapters, essentially. I think I caught them all there. I hope I did. Durham. Durham's got a chapter as well. Durham region. Used to be in Peterborough, and they meet in Oshawa.
Yeah, but almost anywhere you are based in Ontario, you have access to a chapter. And I was off screen there, but I would encourage all the listeners, if you're based in Ontario, there's no better place to get a lot of really good safety information and to meet fellow people. And it's like 9 or 10 meetings a year, and the total cost is $50 to $100. You can't get it better than that. But as
I said, it's something that's always been near and dear to my heart. I learned a lot through the Fleet Safety Council. I met a lot of great people, and to see, depending on the meeting, you could have anywhere from 10 to 50 people at a chapter, to see different professionals from different companies, and business is out the door, competition is out the door. It's all about safety. So they're willing to share ideas, and it's fantastic. Sorry.
Yeah, it's sharing. I mean, this is where I've met people from Labor Canada. I've met MTO officers. I've met OPP officers. When I say met them, these are some of the speakers I remember. Lawyers have been there. Like the list of expertise that's brought in, and sometimes it's a member speaking on their expertise and sharing their knowledge. It's just a huge value. I really appreciate it. I wish I could get to more meetings. However, there is a big meeting coming up called the convention for the Fleet Safety Council. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So annually we have a conference. Last year we celebrated our 28th annual Fleet Safety Council conference. I should preface that with saying the actual Fleet Safety Council has been around for over 50 years.
Right.
It's gone through a couple different names, but now it's the Fleet Safety Council. We've had the conference for 28 years. We were starting to plan the 29th annual conference set for October 2nd of this year. It's a one-day educational event. We always have a networking cocktail party the night before. Actually, before that, we have a little bowling event for anybody who wants to go out bowling. Just, again, an opportunity for members to meet each other, hang out, have some fun in the social environment. We have the cocktail party, the evening event, and then we have the full-day conference on the Friday. So we were planning it. We had our date set. We had our venue booked. And I've been on the conference committee for several years. And, we all started talking. It's a group of health and safety professionals. And we made the decision to forego the in-person conference this year. Decision was made to actually take our conference online, and have a virtual event, half-day event this year for the industry.
So cool. Do you have the dates for that? Have they been set?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the same date that we were set to do the actual in-person conference, which was October 2nd. So on October 2nd, rather than obviously, we're not going to have a bowling event. We're not going to have any kind of a social gathering the night before, but we are going to have a half-day conference. We recognize it is difficult for people to sit in front of a computer for a full day. So it's a half-day event. There will be scheduled breaks so people can get up, grab a cup of coffee, maybe check a couple emails. So between our events, our 4 different speakers that we're going to have, there will be a 10 to 15 minute break. And during that break, we're going to recognize our sponsors from last year. So we're actually putting this on without any additional sponsors. We wanted to recognize our sponsors from last year, recognize the industry. At the end of, the big news on this, and I'm thinking this is probably where you're going to go next, but I'm going to beat you to it, is we're offering this to our members and to the public free of charge.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you faded out a little bit there when you said free.
Free.
Yeah, no, this is huge. It's free to everyone. You don't even have to be a member of IHSA.
You don't have to be a member of the IHSA. You don't have to be a member of the Fleet Safety Council. And I really, I encourage people that are watching this to come join us that day, because online we have the ability to reach much, a larger audience. Yeah. And I really think, we're going to share a little bit of information, of course, with everybody online about the chapters. And like you said, regardless of where you are in Ontario, it's probably a chapter that you can get to. So I really hope that this is going to help build our chapters a little bit more and get some more members. It's exciting. It's something different. We're all learning as we go along here. Next year, the plan is to, hopefully that everything is back up and running normal, go back to our in-person format. So we really do like the social aspect of it. It is a very social industry, a great group. For this year, it's a free virtual event.
Yeah, so I would encourage everybody, and of course there will be a link to how to register for that in the show notes. So you just click on that link. Charlie, what else is on your mind?
I'm trying to think what we've covered, what we haven't covered. Actually, you know what? There was another. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen if you don't mind. So these are IHSA's road safety solutions. So we talked about a little bit about the training programs that are available. What IHSA has done is also put together distracted driving solutions, distracted driving toolkit, preventing motor vehicle incidents, and road safety. So these are very simple to access. I think I've mentioned already the free distracted driving e-learning course. But essentially, that's just when you go in here now. We won't go through this now, but when you do click on any of these, all you're asked for is your name, first name, last name, email, your company. That's not even mandatory there. What sector are you from? So again, it's looking to see if you're from transportation, construction, or electrical and utilities. You do not have to opt in for anything. It's just more so we understand where people are coming from, and it takes you directly into that free e-learning course. Same thing with the distracted driving toolkit. You can go in, have a look at all the different resources, the safety talks, the posters. We talked about the time I spent at Northbridge. There's a beautiful distracted driving poster that's on there where at the time when I was working out of the Guelph Training Center, I actually ordered a few of them, framed them, and put them up in our classrooms. And this is years before I joined IHSA. Really easy to use, step-by-step tools on preventing motor vehicle incidents, and then the road safety toolkit. And then as you scroll down, this road safety solution here on how to build that program, links to all the toolkits and resources and training that we have. So when you go in, again, it's probably way too much for us to go through today, but you can click through each one, and step number one is the plan. Click on more details. Gives me everything I need to know about knowing what my responsibilities are, and these are all documents or links to videos on knowing what my responsibilities are when designing that plan. Getting that commitment, again, every tool. There's a motor vehicle incident cost calculator on there, a motor vehicle incident cost calculator worksheet. So all of these tools that any trucking company or transportation company can use, but I like to look at these and think for those smaller ones that are just starting to grow, and you reach that point where you realize that you're not just that 1 or 2, 3 trucks anymore, and it's a real business, and you've got to start calculating some of these things and determining them. They're all here for you. So that's just the plan. There's do, there's check, like all these different things on these steps that will walk you through in very simple to use resources.
Awesome.
So wanted to share that one as well, because I do think it's a big piece, and again, happy to. I'm proud to be part of this now and sharing it and getting the word out there, because that's going to be the other part of my job too, is getting out there when we're back on the road and working with industry. And I'll go back to your very first statement, about being the best kept secret. I've tried for years, even before I started working back, to say to tell people about some of these resources, and now part of my job is going to be to get out there and share that with people. So I'm pretty excited about that.
No, that's perfect. Charlie, with that, I think that's a great way to end the show.
Awesome.
Thank you for being on the Dog On It Trucking Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Love the name of the podcast. I just have to tell you about it at least once. So.
Thanks, Charlie. I hope you loved the show as much as I did. Please leave us a like, a thumbs up, a review, a comment, a rating if it is in your heart. Thank you so much. And I do really appreciate your time. And join us again next week for another exciting interview.